What are you glad isn't cool anymore? I remember that mustaches, bacon, and llamas everything were the big things when I was in high school. The homeschool kids at my church latched onto that crap and their whole personalities revolved around being quirky and liking those things. They haven't changed, but at least they keep it contained within the families they started at 19 after 1 year at Bible college. Honestly, life after high school moved so quickly for me that it just feels like yesterday that the emo trend was over. Like the trend ended, but then the younger kids said no, wait, this is really cool and brought it right back. I was never an emo or scene kid, but I really liked the fashion. Stop annoying with name city. 9H. But it's never a complete cycle. We're already at the point where the early 00s trends come back, but it just isn't all from back then. People now see how ridiculous the faces looked. But it worked for the time back then. They had shittier camera quality. But now people are used to the polished beauty aesthetic of Instagram. They just adapt stuff like bell bottoms and some of the hairstyles and stuff like that, but they make it their own. Just like the people from recently didn't look exactly like in the 90s but influenced from the 90s. The current version of orange foundation, etc. is fillers. Especially the lip fillers that tend to move upwards. It started on Love Island, but now it's on The Bachelor/Ed too. Celebrities in their 50s/60s have huge faces now. It's fillers flattening out and then more fillers laying on top. My favorite thing is the opposite of this, meaning English nonsense phrases printed on Asian fashion items. There's shirts like "Try my delicious salt beef," "Grandpa fucking space shuttle," "Peanut butter chocolate bar motherfucker," "Punch me in the face," "I need to feel alive," and the iconic "Born to Die," "World is a fuck," "Kill 'em all 1989, "I am trash man," 410,757,864,530 dead cops. I've also seen a coin pouch that says "Whole day I'm fucking busy, only get few money." I'd wear that stuff in a heartbeat if I didn't have to risk getting scammed to order it. Hey, I was young and pretty dumb once. I'll tell you what I did when I got my kanji tattoo. I found a picture of a scroll in a book. Seemed pretty reputable. I took it to the head of languages at my university, who was also my Japanese professor, and she verified it. The artist made a stencil off the original and then copied it, so it's at least accurate. So I feel like those steps worked out well. However, I've shown it to some Japanese friends and they struggle to read it because it's apparently old Japanese, like trying to read medieval manuscripts for us. I probably wouldn't get the same thing now, but I'm not unhappy with it. Men drowning themselves in Axe body spray. I remember junior high and the hallways would reek and almost everyone re-upped at their lockers between classes. Axe might as well make an Arctic marijuana scent, because I think people only use it now to cover up smoke smell, but it doesn't really work. I think the worst part is we used to do it after gym class because no one wanted to be naked and take a shower in front of the other guys. So we would be sweating after running around the track or playing basketball or whatever, then hit the locker and spray ourselves all over with Axe or whatever, or body spray, then go back to a regular classroom stinking of sweat and Axe. I hope this trend is dead, because I had to do it since every shirt was tissue paper thin. Can we please go back to shirts being opaque, please? I'm tired of having to wear 3 layers just so I don't look like I wore only my bra to work. Don't forget how they were also awkwardly short. Not long enough to be a regular shirt, not short enough for it to be a crop top. Don't wanna show a thin 1-inch area around your pant line, must have a longer tank under your shirt. And if you tuck any of them in, you get a nice big spare tire around the waist. Or, don't tuck them in and they'll bunch up and ride up constantly. Love spell from Victoria's Secret. Like seriously, I hate it now. Growing up, the girls that went to school with me would bathe themselves in it. Especially during things like prom, winter formals, and any other events the school had. I got made fun of because I would wear other smells like cucumber, melon and sweet pea. Yes, I realize sweet pea smells like old lady. However, anything else was better than smelling a sea of fucking love spell. It also got me brownie points with the teachers. The older ones liked the smell and the younger ones shared my opinion on it. One day after gym, I was changing clothes, had just put deodorant on, and was about to spray a little cucumber melon on. One of the girls that regularly picked on me decided that today was the day. She caught me off guard and sprayed love spell directly into my face while screaming, "There! Now you won't smell like old lady ass," and laughing. All the other girls was laughing too until they realized I was coughing and was having trouble breathing. She had literally sprayed it down my mouth and nose. One of the girls panicked and went and got the teacher. The teacher took me to the office and called my parents. By the time my parents got to the school, I was fine, but they decided to send me home anyways. The next day, letters was sent home to other parents letting them know that love spell was banned from school because it was triggering kids with asthma. I don't have asthma, but I guess the teachers seen the incident as the perfect time to finally get rid of the smell once and for all. To this day, if I smell a hint of love spell, I instantly start gagging. So glad it's gone, winking face, winking face. Dude, amen. When I was in school, it was cool to not do anything. Man, that was a hard rut to drag myself out of in college. Fortunately, I chose a co-op internship program which helped set up my career, but I regret not joining many clubs/activities because doing things was considered uncool. I think 21 Jump Street laid it out perfectly. The older kids were so confused about the newer high school kids actually giving a shit. Too accurate. Honestly, I'll take all of these back if I never have to see another influencer again. Sure, back in the day you had your Paris Hiltons and your Kim Kardashians, but they were easily ignored and only took up a niche portion of culture. Now, influencers have basically dominated every aspect of pop culture. Videos game culture is so dominated by streaming and YouTubers that meeting someone who likes video games means something completely different from, say, 2007 or so. You're right. It hasn't. But I was one of those kids and it was shit. Forced to be the lead in plays, even making me sit in class with the extroverted kids to bring me out, and worst of all, making the other kids pick me to be the captain in various sports and debates, etc. Today is better. There is more understanding that an extrovert isn't the ideal and a quiet kid is just fine. But yeah, I'm glad it's not the status quo nowadays. I remember back in the 7th grade, one of my classes had a guest and she was having us do various exercises to get us used to feeling dumb in front of others. She had a group of girls at the front and told them to audibly imitate things you could find at a park. What made this exercise so memorable was that not only did she call them out for not sounding exactly like what they were trying to imitate, but she completely blew us off when we told her that the last girl in the group was mute. The guest tried so hard to get her to speak that the girl collapsed into a weeping ball right where she stood. So where was the teacher in all of this? We had to go get her because she fucked off to do something else. Introvert with RBF here, raised by evangelical Christians. As if I didn't get enough shit at school, Sundays I had to hear how I wasn't filled with the Holy Spirit. Saturday should have been a respite, but my grandmother lived with us, and couldn't understand that I just liked to be alone with the door shut sometimes. She always came in to ask if I was grumpy, and if I'm not grumpy, why did I have my door shut, and why do I want to by myself? It must be because I'm grumpy. Cue me getting upset, and you can fill in the rest. Girlfriend's brother was one of these kids. Intervention got him out of his shell and became troublesome in class. Eventually there was an intervention to address his disruptive behavior, and as her father tells it, her mother literally said in a parent-teacher conference, "You people wanted him out of his shell, he's your problem, you deal with it." I can only imagine the party they had when he left. Yeah, I hear that. When I went to school, as was the local education trend to turn as much as possible into group work, and instead of typical lines of desks were arranged in rectangular groups of 8, like little boardroom desks. It was like the whole curriculum was designed by a 100% extrovert person who considered introversion a character flaw that needed to be fixed. Extroversion was considering far superior to introversion. I imagine and hope that has now changed somewhat. It was a popular theme or punchline in comedy for several generations, but during the time that Gen X became the primary consumer demographic for entertainment, marriage became less of a rite of passage into society and more of a personal decision, and at the same time, divorce became less of a stigma because it had been increasing since the 50s. You can actually thank the boomers for paving the way on that one. When you had the option to get out of a bad marriage if you wanted to, "I hate my wife" became less relatable. Al didn't hate his wife, or his kids. There were definitely moments when their family bond was damn near endearing. He was frustrated at his lot in life, which led to him taking his frustrations out on others, but when push came to shove, they all always stood up for each other. Though he did often dread having to be intimate with Peg, but again, I felt that was more a comment on his dissatisfaction with his career and life situation vs not actually loving her. User Avatar Level 5 Project Shadow 316 4H No, he didn't. I remember an episode where he went to a car wash, and the place couldn't find his car. It was because it was so damn dirty, no one knew, somehow, that it was right there all along. Al was desperately trying to find it, and Peg surmised that it was his collection of big UNS in the trunk or something. At the end of the episode, he pops the trunk and you see what he was really after, a family portrait of everyone. As a fellow child of the 90s who has worked in schools as an adult, it has been very refreshing to see the change in culture when it comes to things like who is popular and how bullying is viewed. Everything's not perfect, obviously, and there are other areas where my era had it way better. But it seems like the kids who are popular these days are the kids who are generally just well-adjusted people who are easy to get along with. The mean girl / asshole jock types are not tolerated the way they used to be. Yup. I graduated high school 10 years ago, and even then popular kids were basically extremely likable social butterflies who would hang out with absolutely anyone, even the dweebs, but also had athletic and academic ability going for them. Kids weren't really bullied per se. If they really were weird and didn't fit in, they would be just ignored and left alone by most kids. It was jarring to see how much this had differed from what parents and older relatives had been expecting me to see. Voice teacher here. If you don't like your vocal fry, you can definitely work on using it less. An exercise to try. Get a straw and blow bubbles into a glass of water, about half full. Practice blowing the bubbles so that they reach the rim of the glass, but not so much that they spill over the edge. Do this for about a minute. Feel free to take breaths whenever you need them. Once you've got the hang of it, try humming a song while blowing the bubbles. I know this sounds really silly, but go with me, LOL. I'd go for something easy to remember and around a minute long. Your country's national anthem is probably a good choice. Remember to take breaths, and if you get lightheaded, take a break. The bubbles should stay right around the rim of the glass. Either get to the song's natural stopping point or do the exercise for around a minute. At that point, it should be a lot easier to speak without fry. If it works for you, you can practice this exercise as often as you want. I'd also recommend finding a speech therapist or even a voice teacher if singing is something you enjoy. Both will be able to help you with breath support and other technical stuff. Worth mentioning, of course, that this all depends on your wants and needs. Your voice is yours, so don't worry about what anyone else says. Dad. I ran hard with the Juggalo crowd from 98 to 12. We stayed overnight in front of concert venues, had tons of weed-fueled parties, and lots of picnics in the park. We were a bunch of young degenerates pissed off at the world. I never got in trouble. I only painted my face for 2 shows, but I dressed the part the whole time. My lifestyle was the main source of tension between my father and I. I'm thankful I took off my Hatchetman charm before he died so he could see that I was ready to move on from the lifestyle. That being said, I have been to 2 shows in the past decade and didn't regret either. I'm still in Facebook touch with many of my homies, a cringy term I still use for that group of friends. ICP announced they will start a farewell tour next year, and my wife knows I'm going to a show on that tour. I've probably seen them in concert 50 times, so a farewell tour is a must. I'm proud of my Juggalo years. I'm proud to still identify as a Juggalo. I'm damn proud to have never gotten caught up in anything permanent as a result of my time as a clown. With all that being said, October is coming up. The season of the pumpkin. Best believe there's going to be some spooky music in my earbuds. User avatar. Level 2. Tyrone Leinster. 4H. I mean, what's fundamentally wrong with making fun of harmless stuff? I don't know who you're referring to specifically, and I'd agree that being needlessly mean to people is bad, but the premise that something needs to be harmful to be ridiculed or satirized sounds a bit oversensitive. Hell, this entire thread is about stuff that's 95% not harmful, but is cringe and made fun of. I would say hating school, but it's still prevalent. People don't get bullied as directly for liking school or being nerds, at least from what I've seen, but unfortunately plenty of kids still hate education and knowledge. This might be controversial to those that do hate education, but what they don't know is that their problem isn't with learning something new, it's about how they're learning and what they're learning. I've seen plenty of stoners who absolutely despise school just sit and watch documentary after documentary and can name the complete chemical composition of like 25 different drugs. But too many people think it's cool to hate school. Newsflash, it's not. Instead, hate your school board.